I've not actually spoken about this online before or actually told anyone, to be honest. Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're thinking, what on earth, you look like shit, you sound like shit, it's because I feel like shit. I've had the worst cold and flu. But that was not gonna stop me from posting this video. I had a video originally planned for this week as like my second video, but I had so many messages after my first video, and thank you so much for all like the love and the messages on that video. Like, yeah, I was so pleased with like how it was received and how, yeah, so many of you found it helpful and like quite thought-provoking as well. A lot of the messages I got was wanting to hear more about my freelancing journey. So instead of the video that I originally planned for today, I wanted to talk today about freelancing and how to decide whether to become a freelancer, lessons I've learned since freelancing, and the steps that you should take if you do want to become a freelancer. There's also a few clips that I've recorded throughout my time of like becoming a freelancer that I'm going to include within here, so you can kind of see where my mindset and my thought process was at that period in time. I am going to do a bit of a giveaway of my favourite books that have helped me become a freelancer and throughout my freelancing journey, so stick around to the end to find out how to win those. So for full transparency, I didn't put out a Q&A to my 1,000 followers on Instagram. So anyone who messaged me about freelancing after the first video, I kind of asked them what they would like to know about freelancing, and then I also kind of put in my own thoughts of like, this is what would have been helpful for me to know. So the first question is, how do you know whether to start freelancing? And I will answer this by saying I didn't. My career, my life kind of just led me to this, and I'll talk a bit later. One of the last questions is about how to evaluate like staying in your 9 to 5 or going to freelance. But my answer to this, if I was to do it properly, would be to, one, have a bit of a savings runway of like either 3 months or 6 months. This is obviously what I didn't do because I decided to go to Australia and I wasn't planning on freelancing when I quit my job. So it was kind of like all my savings were spent in Australia. So when I was coming back, it made it a bit more difficult in terms of like I had a bit of a shorter time span for it to work. Having a savings runway is like ideal scenario, and obviously we'd all love to have 3 months, 6 months savings in the bank. However, in my case, like it doesn't always end up like that, and you might not always know that you're going to become a full-time freelancer. Like let's say that you've been made redundant, for example, or in my case you just decide to go travelling and spend all your savings that way. And in that situation, I would still say there's still a way to make it work, like reducing your overheads and having conversations with partners, people who can be that kind of support for you financially if you can't always cover the bills, for example. And a bit later in the video, I will also talk about how to deal with that financial instability as a freelancer. I think that's around question 7, so make sure you stick around for that as well if financials are the most difficult thing for you. I also think in terms of knowing whether to become a freelancer, it's all about knowing yourself and knowing your own mindset. So kind of asking yourself and really analysing why you want to become a freelancer. Is it because everyone on TikTok seems to have quit their job at the moment and becoming freelance? To become a good freelancer, you need to be really, really, really good at managing yourself in terms of time management and also selling yourself as well. Another question was also signs that freelancing might not be for you. So in terms of that, I would say if you're one of those people who feel like they need like a consistent, steady income, if the thought of not having guaranteed money every month is like absolutely terrifying and debilitating for you, maybe freelancing, self-employment might not be for you. Also, if you prefer being in a structured work environment with a manager who kind of like directs you in terms of like what you should be working on, maybe freelancing isn't for you. I also think it's quite hard to know if you do thrive in a situation where you don't have the direction, if you've never really been in that situation as well. I would also probably say freelancing might not be for you if you currently have not a large professional network, or you don't have a clear way of how you could find clients right now. So I've been posting on LinkedIn now for the past like 4 years, and I knew that if I was going to go freelance when I was trying to debate it in my head in Australia, I knew that I would have that kind of network and the audience to try and put out my services to. Another question was, what's something you wish someone had told you before you went freelance? Now, I actually think in this scenario, I would say I wish I had told myself that I have the right mindset. Like, I think to be a good freelancer, you need to have a kind of I'll figure it out kind of mindset. And I've always had that, and like my feedback at like work and different jobs from different managers has always been, if there's someone who'll get it done, like you'll find a way. And I think I've always been someone who's had that as a strength, but I wish I'd had a bit more confidence in that in the beginning. I've not actually spoken about this online before, or actually told anyone, to be honest, so why not tell it in my YouTube video? When I was in Melbourne airport, at this point I was pretty set on going freelance, but I had nothing lined up. So anyway, I was scrolling on LinkedIn at Melbourne airport waiting for my flight home, and I saw a job which was for a TikTok content creator, and I thought, amazing, this is, I think it was 2 or 3 days a week, and I was like, okay, that would be perfect to get some kind of like stable income. At this point I'm thinking, I don't have the savings runway that I think I should have, or that I would recommend someone to have. So I was like, I need something quick. I applied to that. I went through the whole like interview process. I think I was down to the last 2 people, and then I've just had to switch the camera on. I wasn't sure how much of this freelancing journey I was going to document, but I've just received an email which has made me turn the camera on, and it's a negative email. I did have a moment of panic slash how do I get some sort of security with my career, financials, yeah, just how do I get some sort of stability. And I saw an advert for a job when I was in Melbourne airport waiting to get on the flight home, and I saw the job and I thought, this is perfect. It was a TikTok creative, and I was like, this could be really good. And then I did kind of the first interview, got through to the second round, and then the more I was thinking about it, the more I was like, I actually don't know whether I'm going to have time to do this, because it was a part-time role which was 3 days a week. The more I kept thinking about it, the more I was like, I don't know if I'm going to have time, because like I've had quite a lot of like inbound inquiries, thankfully, from me building my personal brand. So I was kind of like, am I going to have time for this? I got through to the final stage, and they've just emailed me to say, this was a tough decision, but on this occasion we've decided not to move forward. That said, we want to be clear that your experience is strong and came through clearly. We enjoyed reviewing your task. Haven't got it, and I just wanted to kind of like document this moment, because I feel slightly disappointed by it, but I feel like this is the universe giving me a sign to say, back yourself and go for it, and like you never know what can happen. So I am feeling very positive, like this is a sign that I needed to like go all in. I didn't get the job. I think admitting that is kind of one of those things where it's like a bit embarrassing, but also I'm actually really proud that I didn't get the job, because I feel like in some sort of way it was kind of the universe saying like, what are you doing? Back yourself. There's no way that I would have been able to do everything that I do right now with like a part-time job for like 2-3 days a week, even if it was like content creation and like working on socials, which is what I want to do. So it's one of those things, like everything does happen for a reason, but I really, really, really wish someone had told me to back myself. Also, something that not a lot of people talk about, which I wish someone had told me, I miss the office gossip so much. And it really got me thinking about when Molly May's Adidas trainer came out. I was like, who can I show this to? I just love a good office conversation. Like, Great Influence, we used to have like, we used to put the world to rights around that table. Like, it was those conversations as well, just like energize you so much, and also just gets you to think about so many things differently. And yeah, I think I miss that a lot, of like just having like really philosophical, question your life conversations. Another question that I had was, how do you actually get your first freelance client? Being active on social media, so both LinkedIn, yes, that is the most obvious choice, but also Instagram has been quite popular for me. Do not underestimate Instagram, because in terms of getting my first freelance client, basically I shared a story on Instagram about someone else's marketing trend predictions of 2026, and that person is like a thought leadership within the space. They reshared it to their story with even more thoughts, and this client followed me and messaged me off the back of that. Yeah, I absolutely love working with that client, and it just shows the power of Instagram. In terms of the advice that I would give to find your first freelance client, it would be to audit your current network. So like ex-bosses, ex-colleagues, business owners that you already know, kind of evaluate and audit that network of people, so then you can kind of start some warm outreach and just seeing if the people you already know want someone to freelance for them. Another piece of advice I would give, especially if you're starting out as a freelancer, and I will caveat this by saying I originally was freelance whilst I was at university, and then I freelanced when I had my first full-time job. And within that period of time, I'm not 100% sure what it's like now, but back then I found it really, really helpful to be on Upwork and Fiverr, and had countless conversations with people off the back of that. And some clients I did sign, some I didn't. I feel like with Fiverr and Upwork, you will have like different conversations, and they might not always be promising conversations, but it's just good to get your name out there, and yeah, to send out as many proposals as you can in terms of like trying to find work, because you can create a really good like foundation of clients from platforms like Upwork and Fiverr. And number 4 was, what's the biggest myth about freelancing that no one talks about? Working on a beach with a laptop. Like, please show me a freelancer who works in social media, who works 4 hours on a beach every day with a laptop, and then chucks it over the shoulder and has cocktails for the rest of the day. Like, I think collectively we all need to stop perpetuating this narrative of freelancers is just like working on the beach with the laptop, like you can just do a couple of hours every day and like log off whatever time you want. Like, just completely devalues every single social media freelancer, and it just really undermines the value of your work. Don't get me wrong, if you want the laptop on a beach scenario with a couple of hours a day, like obviously dream scenario, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting your life to look like being on a beach with a laptop for 4 hours a day. But if you do want that life, do not pick being a social media freelancer, because there is not a more always on, reactive, 24/7 career than social media. Like, if something blows up for a client at 9 p.m. on a Saturday night, you're not waiting until Monday to get that sorted, especially if it's something that might potentially affect a client's reputation. You cannot be someone who is like, I'm going to switch my phone off at 12 p.m, 4 p.m, 5 p.m, and not think about it until 9 a.m. the next day. I do also think it depends on obviously the type of clients that you're going after, because fair enough, like if the local butcher's social media account is popping off on Saturday at 9 p.m, that might not have as much reputational risk with it as someone who maybe appears on daytime TV and could potentially be picked up in the tabloids. Like, you've got to kind of account for these different clients, but I definitely think the laptop on the beach myth needs to stop. And yeah, people just underestimate social media freelancers because it's just like the most always on demanding career. I'm gonna pop a little bit more lip gloss on because I'm still looking like death and sounding like death apparently. Next question though is, how do you handle the income inconsistency? I will caveat this by, this is not financial advice. I'll just tell you my experience and what I've been doing within my first 6 months of being freelance. So I've been paying myself the same as what I get paid. In fact, just under what I got paid as at my salary role. And that is the same baseline pay, like whether I have a massive month, whether I have a slower month, same baseline pay because I don't want to take loads of money out of the business initially. Like, even if you have a big month, still would try and pay yourself the same. And also, Monzo Business is a lifesaver. I've been able to set up like a tax pot within that, so anything that comes in from the business, immediately 20% is put away for tax. So, and I would also say use slower periods, so periods where you might not get as much project-based work, or periods where like clients are on holiday, for example, where it just feels a little bit slower. Don't like look at them as like, this is a opportunity for me to propel the business forward. So you can use them slower periods to pitch to new clients, date your network, build your client pipeline. Like, slower periods can always be used to propel the business forward and to make the business more efficient. The next question, someone asked me this and I thought, how on earth do I answer that? But it's number 6 is, what does your actual standard work week look like? I would love to see a freelancer who could sit here and answer this as like just standard. Monday is this, Tuesday is this, Wednesday is this. Last week I was in London twice. This week ahead is a week where I'm calling it like a get my head down week. I don't have any events planned. I don't have any trips to London planned. I don't have any client in-person meetings planned. So it's really a get my head in the game, focus kind of week. And I think it's good to have those weeks as well. And because I have got that kind of week, obviously last week was a bit more like out and about, seeing people, networking events, meeting clients in person. But because I have got this like get my head down week, I'm really using it as a week to kind of focus. And I do think you need both weeks. But yeah, I think in freelance life, there's so much variety that happens from week to week. And also you're firefighting a lot as well. So you're coming up against a lot of problems that you don't always foresee coming, or like situations. So it's also having the time and space to deal with those situations as well. So I would say no standard week by week for me. I've been thinking maybe I should do like a vlog of like a week as a freelancer. So let me know in the comments whether you'd want to see that as well. Number 7 is something that no one actually asked me, but is something that I thought was worth speaking about. So this was how to use AI within a freelance setup. So the main thing I've been using AI for at the moment, which has been really helpful, is analysing how my time is spent and analysing that based on hires that I could make or ways that I could improve time management and time efficiency. So I have been, and let me know whether you want a video on this as well, because I think it would be quite interesting. Okay, someone knocked on the door, so I'm not entirely sure where we're up to, but I was talking about AI within freelance. So there's the time tracking element, and then I'm also starting to use Canva AI. So I'm an ambassador for Canva, and I went to their HQ a couple of weeks ago and they were talking about all the new AI features, and like some of them are like really impressive. I think Canva AI might still be in beta phase, but it's actually working really well for me right now. So I use it in terms of like helping me put together like a deck presentation. I will literally just like write down everything that I want within this deck, and then it helps me like put it into like a nice natural flowing structure. And then also deck design as well. So I used to work with someone on designing my decks. Now I do still think like Canva AI definitely isn't there in terms of replacing that person. I do think yeah, the Canva AI is like a really good starting point. And then in terms of like the other best ways that I'm using AI is in terms of AI research tools. So some of my clients are like within the wellness space. So that means like scientific research and like actual data backed stats and evidence is crucial for those clients. So using the ChatGPT research function, using consensus, that's been a recent find for me, and I have loved consensus. And now number 8 is again something that no one actually asked me, but something that I thought was going to be useful to discuss within this, and that was, do you think it's necessary to be in London for a successful freelance career? Because if you'd have asked me this last year when I wasn't a freelancer, I would have said no. If you'd have asked me this when I was coming back from Australia and I was just thinking about becoming a freelancer, I would have said no. if you asked me this nearly 6 months into being a freelancer, I would probably say yes. I am leaning towards yes right now, although I have, don't get me wrong, been able to build out like an amazing portfolio of clients and very, very lucky to work with the people that I do. I do think London has that kind of opportunity about it that you can't find anywhere else in the UK right now, and I think there's just so much opportunity down there. And I've been thinking about ways in terms of like how I can have a base in Manchester and also a base in London as well, so that might be coming in a few more videos about that. You'll have to wait to see. I was literally explaining this to my old boss, who has always been like, you should be in London because like just the amount of opportunity that's there. And I'm just one of those people who just like fucking loves it, like networking events, any type of events, anything that's going on, I'm there. So yeah, he's always been like, you should be in London, and I always have thought about it, but and then there's never really been like a realistic way of me to be down there, until I have been thinking about it recently. But I was having a chat with him and basically saying like, really struggling to find my network of people who just get it. And I've been speaking to Margaret Ward, who is an amazing agency owner who has an email marketing agency, and she has been incredible in terms of being someone I can kind of lean on, and someone who actually like gets it, someone who like matches my ambitions, my passions, my drive. Like she just gets it, and having one of those people is like so crucial. But like if I was in London and surrounded by those types of people, like I think it would just like level me up even more. So yeah, London is pending. I'll just say that for now. And the last question, which is kind of what I touched on at the start, and I will talk about the giveaway in a minute, but this was, if someone is sitting in a 9-to-5 right now thinking about making the jump, what is your honest advice to them? So I will caveat this by saying, and I touched on this at the start, but like I didn't initially think I was going to go freelance. I can't necessarily talk about it from someone who's in a 9-to-5 to thinking about how I can become a freelancer. I actually thought if I came back that I was going to go into more of like a brand role, and it was either that or like working as a waitress as a cafe in Australia, which doesn't actually sound that bad. But yeah, so I'll caveat it by saying that. But in terms of what I would do, definitely evaluate the resources you have available to you right now. That is everything from like money, savings, contacts. Like it's really one of those things of like, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I think that's so true in business and freelance life. I would also say as well, don't quit your 9-to-5 just because it feels like that's the trend at the moment, or like that's the thing to do. I'm really conscious of how I talk about freelancing online. I don't want to contribute to this narrative of like, quit your job, you'll figure it out, because I know that's like a really privileged way of living. I know also not always the case for people, so I definitely don't want to contribute to that thing of like, just quit your job and you'll figure it out later. However, I do think there's a lot of talk at the moment of like becoming a freelancer, and whilst the data does prove that there's more freelancers than ever, just because there is more freelancers than ever doesn't mean that it's right for you. So I think it's really that journey of like self-discovery almost, of like, would I be a good freelancer? Could that be within my future? This top is so creased, I've just noticed. Sorry about that. I think it's like, don't do it because everyone else is doing it. Do it because you want to do it. Because when you are in those like hard moments of freelance life, and trust me, there's a lot of them, the way that you'll get through is knowing you why that you're doing it. And if you're doing it just because everyone else is doing it, you'll find them hard moments even worse. I also think a side hustle in freelance is a really good way if you are in a 9-to-5, because like I was saying before, I've been in full-time roles before, which I have done freelancing on the side and loved it. Like with my first job, I was doing all sorts of freelance. Like I was working for like a marketing consultant, I was working for like a journaling business, and it's one of those things of like, you need to evaluate why you're doing it. At that time it was because I literally wanted more and more experience, so that was how I was doing it and building it out. But it's kind of like knowing why you're doing it. So are you doing this so you can build out freelance connections for it to eventually become your full-time thing? It's just evaluating where you're at right now, but I think trying to dip your toe in it whilst having the stability of a 9 to 5 is a really, really good way of establishing whether freelancing is for you. I will caveat that by saying I think people undervalue how much a 9 to 5 can actually give to you, because you are literally being paid to learn. You're being paid to make mistakes, and it's something I've only come to realise when I have gone freelance. But like, oh my god, like any mistake I make now, I personally pay for it in terms of my time, my money, and like my confidence to a degree. If I was in a 9 to 5 and I made the same mistakes, like, it's not actually me that is paying for it. It's not actually my time that is paying for it. It's the company's time. And I think that is so lost when people talk about going on their own. Like, it's glamorized to a point of like, it's all good. Actually, I think we need to start like glamorizing 9 to 5s in some respects, because the amount of stability that they give you and the amount of mistakes that you can make and the amount of different avenues you can explore within a 9 to 5 is huge. So I definitely think if you're thinking about becoming a freelancer, just also think about the benefits and all the list of pros that you get from a 9 to 5 as well, because that is something that isn't spoken about enough, like how glamorous a 9 to 5 can be. So I am gonna wrap this video up now. So sorry about this crease top. I do not know what's happening there. But now it's giveaway time, and the reason why I wanted to give these 2 books away is important because this one was the first book that my first freelance client bought for me, and Survival Skills for Freelancers is like just all the fundamentals that you need to know. So good for someone who's like getting out and getting started. So it's like got everything from like budgets to like client communications to setting up processes, like everything like that. So that was a really good read for me. And then Untamed, obviously this isn't directly linked to freelance life, but just really, really good for like finding your passion within life and like following your own path and your own timeline. Yeah, it's such a good book, and I do try and reread this when I feel like I need a bit more of a connection to myself. So if you do want to win these 2 books, drop a comment below and just let me know who you are, where you're currently at in terms of your career, and you could be in with the chance of winning these 2 books. And the winner will be announced on the 22nd of May. So make sure you do comment below, and the winner will be announced in the comments as well. So make sure you subscribed, and yeah, thank you so much for listening to another video. I hope it was helpful. Let me know what videos you do want in future. I want to make this channel as useful as possible whilst also showing you what freelance life is actually like. So thank you so much again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.